Okay, so forget everything you think you know about AI just being a tool, because a new paper from Google DeepMind, wow, it suggests we're on the brink of something huge, a massive shift. We're talking about AI not just solving problems we hand it, but actually discovering brand new knowledge, completely on its own.
I mean, what we're talking about here is a genuine breakthrough. An AI just pulled off something that seriously felt like pure science fiction just a couple of years back. This is not just another small step forward. No, this is a massive leap in what AI can actually do.
And look, this is not just hype. The researchers themselves say it, plain and simple. We are looking at a research paper where the entire mathematical core, the ideas, the proofs, the discovery itself, all of it came from an AI. No human intervention at all.
So when something like this happens, you have to ask a pretty huge question, right? And that's exactly what we're going to dig into here. What does this actually mean for the future of science?
All right, first things first. What exactly was this milestone? Let's get into how an AI actually wrote its own research paper. So the team over at Google DeepMind, they've been working on AI reasoning for a while. You might have heard they got an AI to perform at the Math Olympiad level, which is super impressive. But this is a whole different ballgame. We've gone from an AI that can solve problems humans already figured out to an AI that's generating genuinely new math. That's a huge jump.
And here it is, the paper itself. Yeah, the title is a bit of a mouthful, I know, but trust me, what's inside is what's revolutionary. It's got new proofs that solve these long-standing questions in a super complex area called arithmetic geometry. And the kicker? It was all done by the AI.
So who, or, well, what, is the brains behind all this? Let's meet the AI that pulled it off.
It's a system called Alethea. And what's really cool is that unlike a lot of other systems that work with rigid, formal code, Alethea thinks and reasons in natural language. Kind of like how a human mathematician would talk through a problem. Its whole design is built around this really smart loop. It generates ideas, it checks them to see if they're right, and then it fixes them if it finds a mistake.
And really, the genius of this design is that continuous feedback loop. It comes up with a solution, then it checks its own work, and this is the crucial part, it revises and improves if it finds a mistake. It's basically a cycle of relentless self-improvement. So yeah, it really just boils down to this simple but super powerful loop. Generate, verify, revise. And that verification step, that's what makes it so effective. See, a lot of models will just spit out an answer, but Alethea has this kind of built-in skeptic that forces it to double-check its own work. That ability to self-correct is really what unlocks its power to tackle these huge research-level problems.
Okay, but Alethea isn't just this lone genius working in a vacuum. It's also turning out to be an incredible collaborator, and it's already being used to crack problems that have stumped humans for decades.
And this is where the story gets really, really interesting. Alethea isn't just a tool that works alone. It can be a strategic partner. In one of these projects, it completely flipped the script on us. The AI came up with the high-level, big-picture ideas, and then the human mathematicians came in to handle the nitty-gritty technical details. I mean, that is a complete reversal of how we usually imagine humans and AI working together. And its fingerprints are already on multiple published papers, each one showing a different way it can help. You've got the full autonomy we talked about, but also cases where it was more of a strategic guide, and even one where it just improved a proof that human experts had already come up with. It's just incredibly versatile. But the team didn't stop there. They basically unleashed Alethea on something called the Erdos Conjectures database. You can think of it as a famous most wanted list of super difficult unsolved math problems. And the result? It autonomously solved 4 of them. And these aren't just any problems. These are things that have had mathematicians scratching their heads for decades. Okay, now before we all get a little too excited, the researchers are really clear about this. The AI is far from perfect, and it's super important that we understand its limitations too. The paper really emphasizes that these amazing successes are just the tip of the iceberg. For every single one of them, there are tons and tons of failed attempts. The researchers are pretty blunt about it. For now, you really need to have a good gut feeling for what the AI is bad at, just to find the kinds of problems where it might actually succeed. And one of its biggest flaws is something you've probably heard about with other large language models: hallucinations. Just look at these examples from the paper. On the left, it literally just made up a scientific paper that doesn't exist. Poof. On the right, it cited a real paper, but then it completely misrepresented what that paper said. In science, accuracy is everything, so a mistake like that is, well, it's a catastrophic failure.
This chart from that Erdos problem study really drives the point home. So out of 200 possible solutions the AI came up with, just look at this. More than 2/3 of them were just fundamentally wrong. And even for the ones that were technically correct, only this tiny little sliver, just 6.5%, were actually meaningful solutions that got the question right. The success rate is still really, really low.
So, okay, we have these mind-blowing successes on one hand and these pretty serious flaws on the other. How are we supposed to make sense of all this? Well, to deal with that, the researchers propose a brand new way of thinking and talking about AI's role in science. And they use this brilliant analogy that I think makes it super clear. You know how we have those levels of autonomy for self-driving cars? From level 1, which is just basic driver assist, all the way up to level 5, which is full self-driving. Well, they're proposing a similar system, but for classifying AI's contribution to science.
And here's what that framework looks like when you put it into practice. It's a way to classify results based on two things: how autonomous the AI was and how important the math is. And look, you can see that fully autonomous paper we talked about at the beginning is sitting right here, essentially autonomous and publishable. A system like this gives us some much-needed clarity, right? It helps us actually tell the difference between a small assist from an AI and a genuine AI-driven discovery. And all of this kind of brings us to one final, really provocative thought. Maybe we're all having the wrong conversation. Maybe it's not about, will AI replace scientists? Maybe the real question is, will the scientists who learn how to use these ridiculously powerful new tools end up replacing the ones who don't?